Wave after wave of powerful spiritual power, like a prisoner walking out of a trap, roared and roared towards the entrance of the 6th level meridian. Boom! The spiritual power boiled and the meridians expanded. Blocked by the powerful entrance of the 6th level meridian, the 5th level spiritual power exploded and dispersed into spiritual power, which was eliminated in the meridians. Under such a powerful impact, the entrance to the 6th level meridian only shook for a while and was not impacted. However, there was no disturbance in Jason's heart. He quickly mobilized a second round of charge and once again struck hard at the entrance of the meridian. Boom! Boom! Get up again and again, Jason non-stop mobilized his spiritual power to attack the entrance of the 6th level meridians. The 6th level meridians kept shaking, but there was no crack in the slightest. However, there was no trace in Jason's heart. Frustrated. The room was full of strong spiritual power that was so dense that it could not be dispersed, so he had to rely on this method, constantly impacting the 6th level meridians to make the spiritual power disappear, consuming the spiritual power in the room that was almost exploding. Time passed minute by minute, and I don't know how long it took. Boom! Crack! Due to the constant impact, Jason's 6th order meridian entrance, which had always remained unmoving, finally succumbed to the impact of spiritual power. There was a crack underneath. When a spiritual master is promoted, the reason why he usually fails to advance is because he does not have enough spiritual power in his body. Many spiritual masters can successfully advance to the next level just by adding a little more strength or one more point of spiritual power. But that little bit of spiritual power was not enough, and they all failed in the end. As for Jason now, there is no need to worry about the spiritual power pouring into his body being insufficient. All he has to do is to continuously absorb, impact, and consume, and then absorb, impact, and consume again. A drop of water penetrates a stone and an iron pestle becomes a needle. Seeing that crack, Jason's heart suddenly rejoiced. This time, he did not launch an attack easily, but continued to accumulate the power in his body. The energy emitted from the 8th level spiritual core, powerful spiritual power, continued to pour into his body and accumulated in his body, bit by bit. Finally, Jason waited until the meridians in his body had reached their limit, almost unbearable, and the slightest crack appeared. Mal la la. All the 5th level high-level spiritual power rushed towards the 6th level meridian entrance with a crack like a torrent. The sound of the rushing spiritual power was so loud that it was clearly transmitted from Jason's body. Boom! Jianghe rolled back. The sky collapsed and the earth shattered. Under such a powerful bombardment, the entry of the 6th level meridians finally collapsed completely, and a large amount of spiritual power poured into Jason's body crazily. Ah! The person sitting cross-legged in the room suddenly let out a low roar. The terrible breath spread out. Boom! An extremely huge spiritual pressure descended from the sky and enveloped Jason in the room. At the same time, the red mist in the entire room was rioting. Countless red rays of light were constantly changing in the room, as brilliant and shocking as the aurora. People's hearts. Indescribable huge fire spiritual power swarmed in from all corners of the room. The red mist flowed, leaving clear tracks in the air, and then poured into Jason's body. The energy emanating from Jason's body, the terrifying aura coming out of Jason's body, continued to rise and climb, and the red mist in the room also continued to decrease. I don't know how long it took, but after Jason's body's aura climbed to the extreme, it finally slowly stopped. In the room, Jason Sen's eyes suddenly opened, and a ray of light flashed from his eyes. 6th level low-level spiritual master, I have finally been promoted to the 6th level low-level spiritual master. Jason stood up with a smile on his face. Surprised, he looked at his clenched hands and felt great power from them. In his body, the powerful 6th level low-level spiritual power was constantly flowing, exuding extremely powerful power. Jason felt that everything seemed completely different. At this moment, there was only one person left in the room. There was a faint, almost invisible red air flow, a bottle of dark red elixir was quietly placed in the center of the table, and all the transparent soul-absorbing stones in the room were, at this moment, filled with bright red ashes. Bleeding came out. After taking the bloodline awakening potion into his arms, Jason cancelled all the spiritual formations he had arranged in the room. The remnants of the spiritual sand and vermilion mud were completely invalidated, and the bright red ones were like blood beads. Hundreds of soul-absorbing stones were all collected into the space ring by Jason. The soul-absorbing stone contains the purest 8th level spiritual power, which may be used in other places in the future. In this preparation, 1/3 of the power in the spiritual core of the 8th level star flame tiger beast was used to prepare the bloodline awakening potion. 1/3 was absorbed by hundreds of soul-absorbing stones, and the remaining 1/3 of it was absorbed by Jason and used to break through to the 6th level low-level spiritual master realm. It can be said that although the preparation this time was to prepare the bloodline awakening potion for Prince Tyria, in fact, Jason was also the real winner. Opening the door, the sun was shining brightly outside. When Jason found Locke and asked him to clean up the remains of the elixir materials in his room, Jason realized that he had actually entered the room the day before yesterday, and it was now noon on the 3rd day. It took Jason 3 full days to prepare the bloodline awakening potion and advance to the 6th level of low-level spiritual master. It also came to the last day when Jason promised to Prince Tyria. And when Jason was heading to the courtyard of Prince Tyria, in a city in Cheer province, Renault, who stopped to rest on the way, was eating in a tavern. "Hey, have you heard that in Aru at Lord Deba's birthday party, our Cheer province produced a talented young man? Hey, it is said that he has extremely high attainments in elixirs. Even Master Ballandain, who is the master of elixirs in the Imperial Palace, admires him." On the table next to Renault, 3 middle-aged men who looked like spiritual masters drank heavily while shouting. "Really, do we still have such an awesome person in Cheer province? What happened? Lao Tai, tell everyone." The middle-aged man wearing a blue spiritual master's robe next to him couldn't help but say something. "Hey, that's a young man from the Mori family in Rainbow City." This time the Mori family was invited by Mr. Eludiba. Who is Mr. Eludiba? The governor of our Cheer province. Those who have high authority and can attend his birthday party are all famous figures in the empire. In order to please Lord Eludiba, the gifts given by these people must be the best. But guess what the Mori family gave? The words of the middle-aged man named Lao Tai immediately attracted the attention of the people around him. The gift from the Mori family turned out to be 3 bottles of low-level elixir. At that time, Lord Eludiba's face was straight. "It's green. Wow." Some people around him were in an uproar. The middle-aged man was very satisfied with the performance of the people around him, and then said, "I attended Master Eludiba's birthday party, and the gift was a low-level elixir. Isn't this looking for death? But guess what? Old man, stop being so secretive and tell everyone quickly." The middle-aged man in the green robe couldn't help but urge. "Hey, let me tell you, Lord Eludiba was promoted from the 8th level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master to the 8th level all at once after taking that low-level spiritual potion. Intermediate Emperor Spirit Master." The scene was so grand, everyone present was stunned. "TCH, how is that possible?" After hearing what Lao Tai said, everyone around them showed disbelief on their faces. They shook their heads and went to eat on their own. "You don't believe me? This is top-secret information I got from the Union. It's absolutely true," the old man said hurriedly. "Old Tai, you must be dreaming, there is top-secret information." Even the 2 people at his table shook their heads. Besides, Renault couldn't help but reveal a smile. A low-level elixir can allow an 8th level Imperial Spiritual Master to directly advance to the 1st level? That's not how the story was written. You don't believe me? Huh, why am I lying to you? Tianhong City is not far from us. You can go and find out. That boy is Master Jace of the Mori family. You all know about the turmoil in Tianhong City in the past few months. That day in Luo City, the controller, Lord Cornhill of the Naiton family, died at the hands of Jace Dabii. You all know this, right? Seeing that no one else believed in him, Lao Tai suddenly became a little anxious. Renaud, who was smiling at first, was stunned when he heard the name Jace. Lord Jace? Then I know. I heard that he was a black-haired boy who was only about 20 years old. It is true that he killed the leader of the Cornhill clan on behalf of the Mori family. But this Lord Jace is not a man. A spiritual master? When did you become a master of elixirs again? Besides, a certain guest also spoke out. Jason's killing of Cornhill in Rainbow City originally happened in front of the competition stage in Rainbow City, in front of countless people in Rainbow City. Such a shocking thing, in these few days in the middle of the month, it had already spread throughout the entire Chi'er province. For some idle spiritual masters, the fact that the genius boy killed the veteran Imperial Spiritual Master clan leader was undoubtedly their favorite gossip. Jace, a dark-haired boy in his 20s? As for the Jace those people mentioned earlier, Renaud still had some doubts that it was Jason. However, based on what those people had said earlier, Renaud also understood that it was impossible for little spiritual masters like them to know much. Wanted to know whether this Jace is Jason or not, the only way is to go to Tianhong City and find out about the Mori family. Renaud frowned slightly, and then stood up suddenly. Check out. After leaving a few spiritual coins on the table, Renaud walked out of the tavern, walked to the corner of the alley next to the tavern, and disappeared in a flash. Warm congratulations to Brother Yu, who can dance the cha-cha, for being promoted to the guardian of this book and becoming a 6th-level spiritual master. In fact, Brother Yu, who can dance the cha-cha, was promoted to the guardian of this book 2 days ago. The reason why I am saying this today is that because the fish brother who can dance cha-cha always rushes in front of the protagonist every time he is promoted, which makes the protagonist very shocked. Under Jason's entrustment, the genius is announced, haha. Now that the protagonist has finally reached level 6, he can finally be proud and proud. In a courtyard deep in the Phil family mansion, Prince Tyeria is sitting in his room, holding some information on Blood Abyss Mountain obtained through exploration in the past few days, while Master Ballandain he stood aside, ready to explain Prince Tyeria's problem at any time. Alas! After just reading the 2 lines above, Prince Tyeria put the information aside and sighed. After being stunned for a while, he picked up the information and started reading it again. However, looking at the data above, Prince Tyeria was not interested at all. It was already the 3rd day since Jason took the spiritual core of the Starflame Tiger Beast. The purpose of Prince Tyeria's trip was to lead the elixir masters from the Imperial Medicine Academy to survey the crystal stones in Blood Abyss Mountain on behalf of His Majesty Peter. However, during these 3 days, Prince Tyeria's thoughts were entirely focused on what Jason said can make him become a bloodline spiritual master. If it is true, as Master Jace said, that I will become the only blood spiritual master in the royal family for 3,000 years, then my importance in the eyes of my father, as well as my identity and status in the family when I think of this, I mention Prince Yelia couldn't help but feel a little restless. In fact, the relationship Jason mentioned was too important. Whether it was success or failure could easily change his future destiny, so he had to be filled with anxiety. Normally, 3 days is not a long time at all, but for Prince Tyeria, who is worried about gains and losses at the moment, it is a long and almost unbearable time. Every minute and every second is an incomparable torment. Seeing this situation, Master Ballandain on the side just stood quietly and didn't say much. He also understood the mood of Prince Tyeria. No one could remain calm in the face of such a major event that could change his life's destiny. Although His Royal Highness Prince Tyeria was quite anxious at the moment, Master Ballandain still admired Prince Tyeria's character. During these 3 days, although Prince Tyeria was anxious, but they have never sent anyone to inquire in the courtyard where Master Jace is, and they have never asked anyone about what Master Jace has been doing these days. To be able to show such determination under such circumstances is very important to him. For a prince who is only 19 years old, what else can be demanding? Your Highness the Prince. At this moment, a guard suddenly walked out of the door and shouted. What's going on? Prince Tieria frowned and said. Master Jace is outside asking for a meeting. What? Tieria, who was still sitting on the chair, suddenly jumped up, with anxiety in his tone. Quick, please come quickly. While speaking, Prince Tieria quickly opened the door and rushed out. Master Jace, you're here. From a distance, Prince Tieria saw Jason at the entrance of the courtyard. He immediately shouted and hurried forward to greet him, while Master Balandaean followed closely. Thereafter. Haha, I kept His Royal Highness Prince Tieria waiting for a long time. Jason said with a smile. Hurry, Master Jace, come with me. Yesterday, the Irutaba chief gave me a box of fine long yuan tea. Master, come and taste it. Prince Tieria pulled Jason with great enthusiasm and walked towards his room. The guards on the side looked at this scene in stunned silence. Naturally, these guards had heard about Jason, but as palace guards, they did not think highly of small empire families like the Mori family. Now that they saw, after seeing the attitude of Prince Tieria, he immediately thought highly of Jason's status. Your Highness, Prince Tieria, you are fortunate to have fulfilled your mission. This is the bloodline awakening potion I prepared. Your Highness will be able to break through after taking it. The current critical point of bloodline is to become a bloodline spiritual master. Jason also knew the reason why Tieria was so enthusiastic. After entering the room, without any greetings, he took out the bloodline awakening potion on his body. It was handed into the hands of Prince Tieria. Because before coming, Jason had already replaced the amethyst bottle containing the bloodline awakening potion with an ordinary potion bottle. As soon as the bloodline awakening potion was taken out, there was a faint spiritual power fluctuation in the air. Prince Tieria held the bloodline awakening potion extremely carefully, with an extremely excited expression on his face. His expression was like holding his own heart, full of confusion and caution, not daring to be careless in the slightest. The crimson elixir emits misty red halos in the bright day, giving people a splendid feeling. In the solution, there are dots of silver-white starlight, which is the 8th order star flame. Those silver-white star points possessed by the tiger beast, Wuhi. Bloodline awakening potion? Prince Tieria opened the bottle cork carefully, and a strong medicinal fragrance rose from the potion bottle, condensing but not dissipating, filling the air and lingering for a long time. Your Highness, Prince Tieria, please let me identify this bloodline awakening potion. Seeing that Prince Tieria wanted to take the magical potion, Master Balandaean hurriedly spoke out. Although he knew that there should be no problems with this bloodline awakening potion, as a follower of Prince Tieria, Master Balandaean could not let Prince Tieria be held responsible for any accidents. Prince Tieria obviously knew this, and immediately handed the bloodline awakening potion to Balandaean, while showing an apologetic smile to Jason beside him. Jason smiled and said he didn't mind. What Master Balandaean checked was not the efficacy of the bloodline awakening potion, but just to see if there was anything wrong with the elixir. With his 7th level intermediate elixir master, he could quickly detect this. There is nothing wrong with the bloodline awakening potion. Master Jace, is there anything I need to pay attention to when taking this bloodline awakening potion? Prince Tieria said nervously. He didn't want to fail in the end because of his carelessness. Seeing Tieria's cautious look, Jason shook his head and said, Your Highness, Prince Tieria, you only need to take this bloodline awakening potion. Tieria nodded, with a hint of smile on his face. Resolutely, he drank the bloodline awakening potion in one gulp. A stream of hot medicine immediately flowed down his throat and into his stomach. Prince Tieria looked at Jason, and before he could say anything, an unbearable pain shot out from his abdomen, and the severe pain immediately made Tieria, the prince's whole body convulsed and trembled. Pain, severe pain. Prince Tieria felt that the blood all over his body was boiling, as if countless red-hot knives were constantly piercing his body. The pain made him almost crazy, and at the same time, his eyes instantly became extremely red. Boom! Prince Tieria fell to the ground in pain, his expression distorted, he kept rolling in pain, and let out a low roar. Master Balandane's face changed when he saw this situation, but he was not shocked because he could feel that although Prince Tieria was in unbearable pain, his vitality was constantly increasing. Climbing. Your Highness, what happened to Faen? Master Balandane? Prince Tieria's painful roar also alerted the guards outside. Everyone, please move away from me and don't come close, otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. Balandane. A low-pitched voice. Yes. The guards outside the door echoed, and then retreated far away. At this time, Prince Tieria's roar of pain also stopped. Complex patterns emerged from Prince Tieria's body, and powerful fire spiritual power spread. Prince Tieria stood up, and the flames burned on his body, but could not hurt him. Every cent. He felt an extremely powerful flame burning in his body, and at the same time there was an uncontrollable powerful force, which made his whole body full of pain and discomfort. As a member of the bloodline family, Tieria had naturally seen his family's family secret code. He immediately sat down cross-legged, and the tiger spirit secret code automatically appeared in his mind about the secret method of a bloodline spiritual master activating the blood within the body, stimulating the scorching power in the body. As the secret method progressed, the blood in Tieria's body suddenly boiled. The uncontrollable powerful force in his body was continuously refined, and finally slowly integrated into his meridians, and became his own strength. The strength of the cross-legged Prince Nadiera continued to rise. Originally, he had not even reached the first level of spiritual power. Under the power of the royal level potion Bloodline Awakening Potion, his aura continued to increase. He suddenly reached the level of a 4th level Heavenly Spirit Master and finally stopped. Roar. Tieria stood up suddenly and punched out. A tiger's roar suddenly sounded in the air, aura appeared, and powerful pressure fell from the sky, causing ripples in the air. I succeeded, I became a tiger-blood spiritual master. This Tieria excitedly felt the powerful spiritual power transmitted from her body, and murmured in excitement. Can't do it myself. Jason on the side couldn't help but be secretly surprised after seeing Tieria's previous attack. Now the spiritual master level revealed on Prince Tieria's body is only about the 4th level heavenly spiritual master level, but his previous attack had the strength of a 5th level sect spiritual master. The Tiger Blood spiritual master of the Ode family was indeed one of the 3 major bloodline families in the mainland. Master Jace, Prince Tieria quickly laid his eyes on Jason, and what showed in his eyes was incomparable gratitude. After becoming the only tiger-blooded spiritual master in the family for 3,000 years, Tieria could already imagine how wonderful her future would be, and all of this was brought to her by Master Jace in front of her. For Jason, Tieria's gratitude was simply beyond words. Because he knows that what Jason brings to him is not just simple strength, but a bright future. Your Highness Prince Tieria, you don't have to be polite. This Bloodline Awakening Potion is not a great magical potion. It just so happens that I know it. Jason smiled and said nothing more. Jason knew that some things didn't need to be said at all, they existed naturally, and the treatment of Prince Tieria was only because Tieria's fate was somewhat similar to his own in the previous life, not because he wanted to gain any benefits from the other party. Compared with Prince Tieria's luck in meeting him, Jason in his previous life only relied on a heart that never gave up to reach his final glory step by step. Moreover, Jason's body in his previous life seemed to be incapable of possessing it. Spiritual power, even after he became a 9th level elixir master, he still couldn't change his physique that made him unable to become a spiritual master. For him, this has to be said to be a kind of sadness, just like a doctor who has rejuvenated his skills. He has cured countless seriously ill patients with his own skills, but he cannot save his own life. That is an incomparable regret. No, Master Jace, for you, this may only be a hands-on matter, but for me, it is a favor that will be remembered forever. After seeing Jason's faint expression, Prince Tyeria took Jason's hands and looked at Jason excitedly. His expression was indescribable. You can't blame him for being so excited. It was really what Jason's bloodline awakening potion brought to him. It was too important. Jason almost changed his future destiny. Feeling the surging fourth-level spiritual power in his body, although Prince Tyeria has never given up on the possibility of cultivation over the years, he never thought that one day he would really become a spiritual master. When something that anyone has been dreaming about since birth finally appears in front of them, the excitement will be unforgettable forever. Besides, Master Balandaean's face is also full of smiles. As a follower of Prince Tyeria, he naturally hopes that the prince he follows will be as strong as possible. In the past, Balandaean was only because of Prince Tyeria. I chose him for his conduct and intelligence, but now facing Prince Tyeria, who has become the only blood spiritual master of the imperial royal family in 3,000 years, Master Balandaean knows that although Tyeria is now His Royal Highness is not very powerful yet, he is only a 4th-level heavenly spirit master, but he has become the most promising prince among His Majesty Peter's many princes to inherit the throne of the empire. None of them. Prince Tyeria, since you have successfully become a tiger blood spiritual master, I will take my leave. Jason said to Prince Tyeria. No, Master Jess, you can't listen to me. Today, I will hold a banquet to thank you for your help. Prince Tyeria hurriedly persuaded him to stay. No. Jason smiled and shook his head. His Royal Highness Prince Tyeria, I have been nagging at the Phil family for a long time. Chief Kester and the others have also stayed with me in Scarlet Flame City. It is time to go back. As for the kindness of His Highness Prince Tyeria, I understand it. Prince Tyeria stayed for a long time. Seeing that Jason insisted on leaving, he had no choice but to sigh and said, Since you insist, Master. If you want to leave, then I won't hold you back. I will return to the imperial capital in 2 days. If you need my help in the future, Master, please come to the imperial capital. I, Tyeria, swear in the name of the prince, as long as I can do it without any hesitation. As for the Mori family, as long as I, Tyeria, are here, the Mori family in Rainbow City will continue to prosper. Prince Tyeria vowed. Looking at the firm and sincere eyes of Prince Tyeria, Jason nodded secretly in his heart. That's all he wanted. Prince Tyeria and Master Balandaean sent Jason to the courtyard gate. Only Jason persuaded him to go back. Returning to the room, feeling the powerful body, Prince Tyeria still had an incredible light on his face. Congratulations, Your Highness. Balandaean laughed and said. Haha. Prince Tyeria laughed loudly. By the way, Balandaean, please don't let anyone know about my becoming a bloodline spiritual master. Tyeria said with a serious look on his face. Master Balandaean nodded. Prince Tyeria is not very strong now. If such things were known to other princes in the empire, it would inevitably bring some danger to Prince Tyeria. As for Master Jace, we must keep it strictly confidential. If a master like him is spread out, if there is no strong force to protect him, I am afraid there will be some trouble. In the heart of Prince Tyeria, he can keep himself the bodies that all the elixir masters in the Empire's Elixir Master Academy couldn't heal were given to Jason Jing, who was incredibly powerful in terms of his attainments in elixir medicine. Master Balandaean also walked away, but he was also confused in his heart. How could Jason, at his age, see the body of Prince Tyeria that even an intermediate-level imperial spiritual master like himself could not see? Inside the problem. Moreover, in the previous inspection, the bloodline awakening potion that Jason handed over seemed to be only a 5th-level spiritual potion based on the energy dissipated, but its efficacy was terrifying. Balandaean didn't even know that in order to deceive him, a master of elixirs, Jason deliberately added several additional materials to the blood fat awakening potion, so that Master Balandaean could not tell the difference. The true level of the bloodline awakening potion. Otherwise, if Balandaean knew that Jason could prepare a 7th level imperial potion at such a young age, it would inevitably cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. A 7th level imperial spiritual master in his 20s can be called a genius among spiritual masters in Stern Continent, but a 7th level elixir imperial master in his 20s is not a genius, but a monster. After finally settling the matter of Prince Tyuria, after Jason talked to the leader of Eludiba, everyone in the Mori family left Qian City, the provincial capital of Chi'er province, and headed towards Tianhong City. Go. When Lokyuan and the others are sent back to Rainbow City, I will say goodbye and leave. Jason rode his horse and walked among the crowd, making plans in his heart. Jason had been delayed in Chi'er province for more than half a month because of the affairs of His Royal Highness Prince Tyuria, and the idea of returning to the northwest countries became even stronger in his mind. And Kester and others are also planning what they will do when they return to Rainbow City. The benefits that this trip to Scarlet Flame City will bring to their Mori family are so great that he can hardly imagine, and they need to make careful arrangements. Just when Jason and others were thinking about things in their own minds, there was a sudden a strong wind blew by, and a middle-aged man wearing a pale golden robe suddenly appeared in the middle of the wide official road. He said quietly, standing there, looking calmly at the direction Jason and others were coming from. Just standing there, this middle-aged man gives people the feeling that he is the center of the entire world, as if he has infinite charm, and people can't help but feel a sense of awe from the depths of their souls. Who are you, Your Excellency? Kester and others who were walking in front of the team were shocked and said in a low voice. The middle-aged man raised his head, looked at Jason and the crowd calmly, and then said, "Hi." His right palm slashed straight out, and a light golden light pierced the air instantly like a ghost. With a harsh whine, he came to Jason in an instant. Master! Master Jace! Loken, Commander Kester and others were shocked and exclaimed. The spiritual light was swallowing dazzling golden light. Although it was subtle, it exuded a terrifying pressure that made Kester and the others almost breathless. Chong! In the flash of lightning, Jason jumped up from his horse. The black heavy sword behind him suddenly bounced up. The black light flashed in the air and hit the golden sword hard. Above the spiritual light. Poof! Destroyed, silently, after the golden light came into contact with the black épée in Jason's hand, it burst instantly like a soap bubble stabbed by a needle, leaving no trace behind. Mark of. Clang, 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 the sound of swords being drawn suddenly rang out in the convoy. Loken, Kester, Locke and others all pulled out the long swords from their waists and aimed them eagerly. The middle-aged man in the middle of the road. Although the middle-aged man in front of them brought extremely strong pressure to them, in the face of danger, none of Kester and the others retreated at all. Their eyes were firm, showing their determination to die for Jason. If the middle-aged man in front of him wanted to harm Jason, he would have no choice but to step on their corpses. Master, are you okay? Loken looked at Jason behind him with worry on his face. In the convoy, he saw Jason standing there with a sword in his hand, his eyes looking quietly ahead. What was revealed in his eyes was not anger or fear, but a kind of vague feeling of intimacy. Strange? The look in Master's eyes, just when Luo Kuan was confused. Haha! The middle-aged man in the middle of the road suddenly laughed. With his laughter, all the metal spiritual elements within a few miles around boiled, and the terrifying spiritual power pressure dropped and enveloped the area. Heaven and earth. I haven't seen you for more than a year, and your kid has grown to this point. Not bad, not bad. The middle-aged man in golden robe had a heartfelt smile on his face. Father, you have also been promoted to the 8th level of Emperor Spiritual Master. In the team, Jason also had a bright smile on his face, and there was a hint of excitement in his eyes. Father? Jason's name immediately made everyone on the field, including Loken and others, stunned. What's going on? Is the middle-aged man in front of me who exudes terrifying coercion the father of Master Jace? After hearing what Jason called the other party, Kester and others present were all stunned. Everyone put away the weapons in their hands. Jason gave the order, and then walked straight towards Renault in the middle of the road. And Renault also walked over excitedly. Bang, boom. The two of them punched each other hard on the chest, and then hugged each other tightly. They hadn't seen each other for more than a year, nearly 2 years, and they both cared about each other. This was a kind of the family love that dissolves in blood, continues to deepen with the barriers of time and space, and is extremely precious. There was excitement in their eyes, with tears faintly flashing. You stinky boy, you have been gone for nearly 2 years, there is no news at all. I thought you had gone back a long time ago, but I didn't expect you to stay in Chi'er province. Reno said, rebuke, make a sound. Hee hee. Jason smiled and scratched his head. It was only in front of Renault that he, who was only 20 years old, looked like a child. By the way, Dad, why did you come out? Jason asked curiously. I'm homesick. Renault was silent for a while, then slowly said, I haven't been back for almost 3 years. I want to go back and have a look. It has been nearly 3 years since he and Jason left the Kingdom of Orlando. 3 years, for most people, this is not a short day. When Jason took him to the territory of chaos to treat his arm, Renault never thought that he would stay here for such a long time. But these 3 years have also brought many things to Renault. At the beginning, he was just a 7th-level low-level Imperial spiritual master. With a broken arm, he was depressed and murderous. But now, he has obtained the god-killing Naughty. He inherited Mu's inheritance, but he became an 8th-level low-level Emperor spiritualist with outstanding strength. Are you homesick? Jason also recalled every bit of his time in the Kingdom of Orlando in his mind, but the first thing that came to his mind was his maid, Claire. I don't know how this little girl is doing. A faint smile appeared on Jason's lips. Suddenly, Jason said to Renault, as if thinking of something, Father, how did you know I'm here? His face was full of doubts. How did you know you were here? Ha ha. Renault laughed and said, Your master Jace's great name, who in the Chi'er province of the Salem Empire, doesn't know about it now. That day, after Renault overheard the news about Jason in the tavern, he immediately went to Rainbow City to inquire about the so-called Master Jace. After questioning several people in Rainbow City, he heard what they said about Jace. After describing the Master's appearance, Renault finally confirmed that the so-called Master Jace was Jason. So Renault didn't stop. After learning that Jason was in Chien City, the provincial capital of Chi'er province, he rushed to Chien City overnight, but at that time, Jason was in the Phil family's mansion. After feeling that there were several powerful auras in the Phil family mansion that were not weaker than his own, Renault, who did not want to expose himself, did not go there rashly, but lurked there quietly, watching Jason Rant's every move and protecting him secretly. When Jason left Scarlet Flame City today and was about to return to Rainbow City, Renault walked out in front of Jason. These people must be members of the Mori family. Renault walked up to Kester and others with a smile on his face. Jess, the dog, I rely on everyone to take care of me these days. Since Jason, by using the name Jace, Renault also fulfilled his lies. At this moment, Renault has advanced to the 8th level of Emperor Spiritual Master. Although the powerful spiritual power of the 8th level has long been contained in his body, he still exudes a powerful power in every move, giving people an inexplicable feeling. Pressure. In addition, when Renault was in the territory of chaos, he kept his word. He was in charge of the entire territory of chaos. His words and deeds had a powerful aura that only a superior person could have, which made people dare not look at him. This sir, I don't dare to be. Hearing Renault say this, Kester and others were startled and waved their hands hurriedly. this Sir Armori family is all dependent on Jia. Without the care of Master C, without Master Jace, Armori family would have been destroyed countless times. Haha, okay, we are all our own people, so there is no need to be so polite. On the side, Jason walked away. He stepped forward with a smile and introduced, everyone, this is my father Renaud. Kester, Locke, I have met Mr. Renaud. Kester and others hurriedly bowed and saluted, saying, speak respectfully. Father, this is the Kester patriarch of the Mori family, and this is Master Locke. Jason also walked to Renaud and introduced Kester and the others. As for this one, I picked him up in Chi'er province. The second disciple is called Luo Kuan. Junior Luo Kuan, pay homage to Senior. Luo Kuan hurriedly knelt down in front of Renaud. Feng spoke respectfully. Renaud's powerful spiritual consciousness passed over Loken's body slightly, and then he nodded with satisfaction. Your new disciple is indeed very strong. At such an age, he has reached the level of a 6th-level low-level spiritual master. As he spoke, a simple ring on Renaud's left hand flashed with light, and a bottle of elixir suddenly appeared on Renaud's left hand. Renaud's space ring was actually owned by Daimler, the elder of the Per family, one of the 3 major families in the territory of Chaos. However, after Daimler's death, the space ring naturally belonged to Renaud. Space ring? Seeing Renaud's action, Kester and others were shocked, but soon, they focused their attention from the space ring to the magic potion in Renaud's hand. This is a bottle of sapphire blue elixir. Under the sunlight, it emits blue rays of light, forming blue phantoms around everyone, mysterious and gorgeous. Since you are Jess's disciple, I don't have anything good to give you when we meet for the first time. This bottle is a 6th-level high-grade spiritual master potion. After taking it, it can improve the spirit of any 6th-level senior spiritual master or below. I'll give you my master's cultivation as a greeting gift, Renaud said. Can it improve the cultivation level of any spiritual master below the 6th-level senior spiritual master? After hearing the effect mentioned by Renaud, Kester and others present were surprised and at the same time puzzled by the so-called improvement cultivation level in Renaud's mouth. Why, how much is the improvement? But since it can have an effect on 6th-level spiritual masters, it should be able to improve a spiritual master's practice for several months. This is what Kester and others thought in their minds. This Spirit Master Potion is actually one of the 10 bottles of Spirit Master Potion prepared by Jason. 5 bottles of the 10 bottles of Spirit Master Potion prepared by Jason were distributed to Archimedes and others, and the other 5 bottles were distributed to Archimedes and others. He gave it to his father, Renaud, and asked him to reward everyone based on the performance of the Chaos territory. In the more than a year since Jason left, Renaud distributed 3 of the bottles to Maria and others, and the remaining 2 bottles have been it was useless. Now that he saw Loken, he took it out generously. Thank you, Senior, thank you, Senior. Loken first glanced at Jason, who was standing aside. After seeing him nodding, he spoke with excitement on his face and took the Spirit Master Potion from Renaud's hand. You don't need to thank me. If you want to thank me, just thank your master. Renaud laughed loudly. Loken looked at Jason aside with a blank look on his face. What do you mean by thanking master? Could it be that this Spirit Master Potion was prepared by master? Faced with Luo Kuan's doubtful eyes, Jason just smiled and said without explanation. If you want to drink it, just drink it now. Feeling the expectant look in Loken's eyes, Jason smiled and said, yes. With a trace of joy on his face, Luo Kun uncorked the bottle of Lingzuan's potion, and then drank it. A strong fragrance of medicine suddenly filled the official road. At the same time, in this medicinal fragrance, an inexplicable strong spiritual will suddenly appeared. Is this? Why does it feel like there is a powerful spirit in this spiritual potion? Kester and others immediately focused their attention on Loken, and Master Locke had even more doubts in his heart. As a 5th-level senior elixir master, he had never heard of it. What spiritual potion contains spiritual will? Boom! An extremely powerful will and power suddenly emerged from Loken in the middle of the road, and an indescribable force suddenly descended over the entire road, forming a huge spiritual storm. Tenacity. Unyielding. Never give up. 3 lines of energy smoke containing powerful spiritual will suddenly rose from the top of Lokuen's head, rumbling straight towards the edge of the arrow, just like 3 pillars of sky. The momentum was so great that it was simply shocking. At the same time, Loku, the energy fluctuations in its body are also constantly soaring. 6th level intermediate, 6th level advanced. This spiritual storm came and went quickly. In a moment, the entire road returned to calm. However, that magnificent scene was deeply engraved in everyone's mind. I actually advanced to the 6th level of Senior Spiritual Master. Am I not dreaming? Under the dull eyes of Kester and Locke, Loken stood up slowly, with a look of shock on his face, and murmured while Kester and Locke were listening. After hearing Loken's words, he was completely petrified on the spot. A year and a half ago, Luo-kun was only a 4th level low-level heavenly spiritual master. However, in this year and a half, Luo-kun first trained as an intermediate to a 5th level low-level sect spiritual master, and then in the wood spirit pond. With help, he was promoted to the 6th level low-level spiritual master. Now, with the help of this spiritual master potion, he was promoted to the 6th level high-level spiritual master and became the spiritual leader of the entire Mori family. The tallest person. Such an impact was too shocking for Kester and others. They couldn't believe what was happening in front of them. In the impression of Kester and others, this kind of promotion speed is unprecedented, but it is definitely unprecedented. In the end, they all set their sights on Jason and Renault, and then came to a conclusion. Both father and son are monsters. After the 2 parties exchanged simple greetings for a while, Renault also joined Jason's team. The group of people immediately drove towards the direction of Rainbow City. After several days of travel, Jason and his party finally returned to Rainbow City. After just 1 night's rest, Jason summoned Kester and others and announced his upcoming departure. After hearing the news, although Kester and others were surprised, they were still somewhat prepared. Others didn't know it clearly, but they all thought Jason was a member of the Mori family, but Kester and the others knew very clearly that Jason had accidentally passed out on the roadside and was rescued by Loken and Yen Lai. Come to your own family. After that, a series of things happened, such as the family competition, the secret realm of the spirit pool, and the attack by the Naton family. And Jason has given his family so much help because he accepted a disciple like Loken. Kester had already prepared in his heart that Jason could not stay here forever and would leave one day sooner or later. However, when things really happened in front of them, Kester and others were still filled with reluctance. Master, I want to go with you. On the side, Loken choked up with red eyes. Follow me? Jason glanced at Loken, then shook his head and said, when you become a 7th level Imperial Spiritual Master, I will take you away, but now, no. Master, I am now a 6th level Senior Spiritual Master, and I can reach the 7th level Imperial Spiritual Master in no time. Luoquan said anxiously. Are you able to achieve it soon? Haha. Jason couldn't help laughing when he heard Luo Kuan's words. Lokuan, this 7th level Emperor Spiritual Master is not a cabbage, he can do anything casually. Promotion, although you are now a 6th level Senior Spiritual Master, if you want to advance to the 7th level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master, it is impossible without a lot of hard work. In Stern Continent, a 7th level Imperial Spiritual Master can already do it. He is considered a strong man. Although he cannot be said to be running rampant across the continent, as long as he is careful, he can basically go anywhere. The difficulty of its advancement is not like advancing from the 5th level to the 6th level. You can easily advance successfully. To advance from the 6th level Spiritual Master to the 7th level Imperial Spiritual Master requires not only hard training, but also unparalleled talent and powerful opportunities. How many spiritual masters have been stuck at this level their entire lives, unable to make progress? Just like the Northwest Kingdoms and the Territory of Chaos. Although 6th level high-level spiritual masters cannot be said to be everywhere, they are not rare. In the Kingdom of Orlando alone, there are at least dozens of 6th level high-level spiritual masters. But there are only 3 Emperor spiritual masters at the 7th level, Lin, Shadow, and Rost. The situation is the same in other kingdoms. With the talent of Loken's wood spirit body, Jason believes that he can definitely advance to the 7th level. The Emperor's spiritual master, and if Jason really wanted to help, Jason, who had the Emperor breaking potion and other spiritual potions, could make Loken a 7th level Emperor's spiritual master within half a year. But Jason didn't want to. Compared with ordinary spiritual masters, Luo Kuan's promotion process was too simple. In less than 3 years, he was promoted from the 4th level low-level heavenly spiritual master to the 6th level high-level spiritual master. In terms of speed, 4 years after his rebirth, Jason, who climbed from the 5th level of spiritual power to the 6th level of low-level spiritual master, was not much slower than Loken. But Jason's promotion relied on the powerful spiritual god art kung fu, practicing day and night, hard battles, the understanding of preparing magical elixirs, etc., are all achieved by passing through all the obstacles. Whether he was advancing from the 3rd level to the 4th level, or from the 4th level to the 5th level, Jason spent a lot of effort, and it was not like Luo Kuan's overnight success. For Luo Kuan, what he needs now is not to advance quickly, but to fight and hone himself in practice. Through continuous practice, fighting, and enlightenment, he finally became a 7th level imperial spiritual master. Otherwise, even if Luo Kuan is an imperial spiritual master who has advanced to the 7th level, he does not have much combat experience. Let alone the invincible one with the body of wood spirit, he may not be able to defeat even the spiritual masters of the same level. Don't worry, everyone. Well, it's not like I'll never come back. I'll come back in the future, Loken. I'll have to check your strength then. If you're not satisfied with me, see how I deal with you then. Besides, let's go with you now. If I leave, will you let Philip go? At this point, Jason couldn't help but burst out laughing. Master, a man should aim at all directions, why should I not give up? Lokuan said, scratching his neck. What? Suddenly, Luo Kuan seemed to have thought of something, and hurriedly said, I have nothing to do with him at all. I don't want to let him go. Master, you are lying to me. Really? Jason said with a half-smile. Loken's face turned red, he buried his head aside and stopped talking. In this way, after bidding farewell to the Kester clan leader and others, Jason used the Thunderbolt wing, and his father Renault flew into the sky, and then quickly flew towards the Westwell kingdoms. With the care of the Eludiba chief and the Tyeria prince, Jason was concerned about the safety of his disciple, Loken. It's also quite reassuring. When they flew far away and the people on the ground were so small that they were almost invisible, Jason could still feel that Loken and the others were still looking at the place where they disappeared in the courtyard, refusing to leave for a long time. When Jason and Reno were rushing to the Kingdom of Orlando, in the Palace Hall of the Kingdom of Orlando, His Majesty Lester was sitting on the throne, and the ministers were on both sides. In the middle of the hall, 2 middle-aged men wearing spiritual master robes stood, looking coldly at Lecenti on the king's chair. Lecenti, let me ask you, where have the Todd family's Reno and Jason gone? It's been almost a year, why haven't they returned to the royal city yet? One of the middle-aged men shouted angrily. He spoke out and looked at Lecent coldly. Facing the ruler of the Kingdom of Orlando, there was no trace of fear on his face. However, the strange thing is that after hearing the other party's angry shouts, all the ministers in the entire hall did not have much angry expressions. Instead, they showed a hint of fear and helplessness. You too, Lester said with a wry smile on his face, I have told you so many times, I really have no idea where Master Jason and Renault and his son have gone. You ask me, I don't have any idea. Okay, you don't know. What about you? The two middle-aged men again cast their gaze on the face of Leo, the patriarch of the Todd family and the minister of state for the royal family beside the hall. Then Renaud is your brother, and Jason is your nephew. You don't know where the two of them went, do you? The two middle-aged men had sneers on their faces. My brother and nephew didn't notify me when they left. How could I know where they went? If you two want to know about my nephew from us, where did they go? I don't think it's wasted effort. Leo said indifferently. Everyone from the Kingdom of Orlando at this moment, another brown-haired middle-aged man who had been silent among the two spoke up. Our Decre family comes from the Kamikaze Empire in the east of the mainland, and is related to the Northwest countries, and the Todd family has no grudges. The purpose of our trip is just to hear that Wayne, the murderer who killed the Hague patriarch of our Decre family, appeared here, so we want to inquire about the news. The brown-haired middle-aged man looking at everyone with deep eyes, we have no ill intentions. I also heard that Wayne had left the Kingdom of Orlando a long time ago, so I just wanted to ask Renaud and Jason, who have a good relationship with Wayne, but we are here. Years have passed, but there is no trace of Renaud and Jason, and you are unwilling to reveal their whereabouts. Isn't this too unkind? Speaking of this, the brown-haired middle-aged man's voice suddenly became louder, and a powerful spiritual pressure circulated in the hall. Everyone was almost breathless. His eyes were cold, and he looked at everyone. A cold feeling passes over a person's body, making him feel as if he has fallen on ice, and his heart feels chilly. Behind Lester, Lynn suddenly took a step forward and stared at the two people in the hall, coldly. It's not that we don't want to tell. In fact, we really don't know, and there is nothing we can do. Center said helplessly. Okay, very good. The brown-haired middle-aged man sneered twice. It doesn't matter, we too have plenty of time, we will slowly wait until Renaud and Jason come back. After saying this, the two men suddenly lifted into the air, flew out of the hall and disappeared into the palace. A moment later, the two slowly landed in a mansion in the royal city of Colton. I don't believe you if you continue to send people to monitor you. That Renaud and Jason, he will never come back, until then, the two of them must look good. As for Wayne, as soon as we get the news about them, we will immediately report to the senior and let him avenge the Hague clan leader. Brown, the middle-aged man said coldly. Brother, the Lester and Todd families are really disrespectful. How about we capture them? When the time comes, Renaud and Jason will definitely show up when they get the news. Another middle-aged man said coldly. No. The brown-haired middle-aged man said, now the Kingdom of Orlando has attracted the attention of many forces in the mainland. We must not let the family's reputation be tarnished here like the Daos family. Among the two, while the young people were discussing, in the palace, there was a trace of anger on Leeson's face. Too presumptuous, too presumptuous. Leeson said angrily. Many ministers below looked at each other and said nothing. It's not that they are afraid of the other party or the Decre family, the Kamikaze Empire and the Northwest Kingdoms are separated by the Cairo Empire. The geographical location is extremely far, and the other party cannot come to the Northwest Kingdoms to destroy them at will. Nexent doesn't have to worry about the other party at all. It's just that the two people before were both masters of the Decre family. The first middle-aged man was named Hoover, a 7th-level intermediate imperial spiritual master, and the other brown-haired middle-aged man was named Roosevelt. He is also a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master. The 7th-level high-level imperial spirit master can be said to be the most powerful in the Northwest countries. Now in the Kingdom of Orlando, there are only two 7th-level intermediate imperial spiritualists, Rost and Dylan, and Shadow, a 7th-level low-level imperial spiritualist. In terms of the strongest combat power, they are no match for the opponent. Arrogant. Master Jason, Renaud, you two must not come back. Once you come back, it will be very bad. In the hall, Leesant and Leo secretly prayed in their hearts. when the Decre family of the Kamikaze Empire openly searched for Jason and Renault. In every corner of the royal city, there are also forces from other parts of the mainland waiting there. In a certain mansion in the royal city, a middle-aged man with long golden hair was listening to the information sent by his subordinates. Lord Parsons, there is currently no news about Jason and Renault. According to our investigation, Chief Leo and others of the Todd family have not done anything noteworthy in the past 6 months, and according to our distribution to the kingdom, the spies from various places have reported that there is no news about Jason and Renault. An attendant in a grey robe knelt down on one knee and spoke respectfully. Is there no news? The blond middle-aged man looked coldly and nodded slightly. Continue to investigate for me. If there is any news, report it immediately. Yes. The attendant said respectfully and retreated. It's really strange. Where did Jason and Renault go? Do they think they can avoid our Dawes family by hiding? Well, Leo is really good at it. He can do it once every 2 years. They don't even contact them. The blond middle-aged man's eyes were sharp and he murmured, although our Dawes family has a 10-year agreement with the other party, the family has issued an order. As long as Jason reaches the 7th level spiritual level, the Medicine Emperor wants to kill the opponent at all costs, but as for Renault, he can ignore it. The blond middle-aged man shook his head. I didn't expect that Jason's attainments in spiritual medicine were so strong. The Medicine Master Conference has stirred up such a huge storm in the Northwest countries. He is known as the #1 genius elixir master in the Northwest countries. Such a person really has to be guarded against. If he has been promoted to the 7th level of elixir in the past 10 years, Imperial Master, make good friends with some forces on the mainland. 10 years later, it will be difficult for the family to deal with each other. Parsons is very clear about family decisions. 2 years ago, Augustus and the third elder, Sally, came to the Kingdom of Orlando and failed to kill Renault. They told the family about the matter, which immediately attracted the family's attention. Ice Emperor Wayne, who was an 8th level Imperial Spiritual Master at that time, had a great reputation in the Cairo Empire. Even one of the 4 major aristocratic families in the empire, like the Dawes family, did not dare to fight against him easily. Fortunately, after investigation, the Dawes family learned that Wayne was afraid of the master of the Spiritual Master Tower and fled the Northwest countries. This made everyone in the Dawes family heave a sigh of relief, but soon, they got another shocking news came. Jason was the champion of the Northwest Kingdom Spiritual Medicine Master Competition. Augustus and Sally had known about it for a long time, but at that time, they just thought that the Northwest Kingdom was a small place where the strongest, the Elixir Master, Master Silton of the Kingdom of Weiss, was only a 6th level Elixir Master, and was not worth mentioning at all. However, the information that the Dawes family later obtained was that Jason showed it at the Elixir Master Conference. With amazing strength, he easily won the championship of the conference, far ahead of the 2nd place. At the age of 25, Sri Lanka was a 4th level low-level elixir master. His attainments in elixirs were even greater than those of Leon Silton. The masters, the chief elixirs of various kingdoms, were all amazed and shocked at the conference. This news immediately shocked all the elders of the Dawes family. In terms of force, as long as Wayne doesn't take action, even if all the masters from the entire Northwest countries gather together, the Dawes family will not be afraid at all. But if Jason's attainments in elixir science really make a difference, and if they break through to the 7th level elixir master in the past 10 years, they will have to pay attention to it. The status of elixir masters on the mainland is extremely high, and the 7th level low-level elixir master is enough to be in the mainland if they are willing. The Imperial Elixir Masters Academy in any of the 4 empires holds the position of master and is protected by the empire. Any 7th level elixir master can attract a group of 8th level Imperial Spiritual Masters to work for him as long as he makes a promise. This is an extremely terrifying force. Back then, a 7th level senior elixir master, Master airily, emerged from the northwest countries and became a guest of several big families on the mainland. Many big families sent 8th-level imperial spiritual masters to protect him personally. The limelight lasted for a while. Therefore, after secret discussions, despite the objections of Rao, the patriarch of the Daos family, the elders of the Daos family decided to station people in the Kingdom of Orlando. As long as Jason breaks through to the 7th-level low-level elixir emperor, if you are a master, you must spare no effort to kill the opponent. A 7th-level low-level elixir master has a strong appeal on the mainland. Although it may not be able to cause a devastating blow to the Daos family, it is enough to bring a disaster to the Daos family. They do not hope that, nor will such a thing be allowed to happen. As for Renaud, who was a low-level 7th-level imperial spiritual master at that time, he was completely ignored by the Daos family. In the thousands of years of history of the Northwest Kingdoms, there has never been an 8th-level emperor spiritual master. He can't bring any trouble to the Daos family at all. Moreover, even if Renaud has been promoted to the 8th-level low-level emperor spiritual master in the past 10 years, an 8th-level low-level emperor spiritual master with a broken arm is nothing to a big family like the Daos family. There are a few white clouds floating in the clear sky, and the breeze blows through the mountains and forests, and there are waves of rustling. The sound of the sound gives people a sense of tranquility and ease. On the boundless plains, there are cities and towns, glowing with vitality. This is the easternmost border of the northwest countries, at the end of the 30,000 Marij Hingduan Mountains. From a distance, the majestic undulating mountains and high mountains tower into the sky. The jagged rocks stretch endlessly. At this moment, 2 black spots suddenly appeared at the end of the sky, slowly became clearer in the field of vision, and stopped at the end of the Hingduan Mountains. This is a middle-aged man and a young man. The middle-aged man's face is calm, giving people a sense of depth. Behind the young man, there is lightning flashing and his expression is peaceful. These 2 people were Jason and Renaud, who had rushed back from the Salem Empire. When they went to the territory of chaos, it took the 2 of them more than 2 months to arrive at the territory of chaos from the northwest countries. But this time, under their high-speed flight, they only used after half a month. We returned to the border of the northwest countries. Breathing the familiar smell in the air, a hint of excitement flashed across Renaud's eyes. Finally here, the northwest kingdoms, the kingdom of Orlando, I'm back. Renaud murmured in his mouth, and then looked at each other with Jason. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 streams of light instantly cut across the sky, heading towards the kingdom of Orlando at lightning speed. After entering the northwest countries, Renaud and Jason kept flying forward without any pause. With Jason's current strength, the speed of using the lightning wings was almost the same as that of a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master. A few hours later, the 2 of them had entered the territory of the kingdom of Orlando. However, the 2 of them did not stop at all, and then flew towards Colton, the royal city of the Kingdom of Orlando. As the royal city of Colton gradually approached, the expression on Renaud's face, there was a faint hint of excitement. In King Colton City, his Renaud family had his Renaud roots. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 streams of light fell on a corner of the royal city of Colton. Looking at the familiar things around them, Jason and Renaud couldn't help but feel a sense of intimacy in their hearts. Let's go. The 2 looked at each other and walked towards the Todd family's mansion with joy on their faces. At the door of the Todd family mansion, 2 guards were standing there with serious expressions. Today, the Todd family has great power in the Kingdom of Orlando and has become the first family in the Kingdom of Orlando. As a guard, it is natural that the tide has risen, and the expressions are cold. Of course, it gave people a sense of arrogance. That's it, he said in shock. Aren't these 2 people Renaud and Master Jason? Master Renaud and Master Jason? Are you blind? It's been almost 2 years since the 2 of them left the family. Not in the family. The guard on the side said nonchalantly, and then followed the eyes of his companion next to him and looked to one side of the street, but he was suddenly stunned. Quickly go and inform Chief Leo that Master Renault and Master Jason are back. He shouted to the guard next to him, and at the same time, he quickly rushed forward to meet him. Master Renault, Master Jason, you are back, he said excitedly in his mouth, with an excited look in his eyes. Looking at the familiar mansion and the enthusiasm of the guards, Jason and Renault also had smiles on their faces. They still remembered their first visit back then. When he came back last time, he was stopped outside by the family's guards and made rude remarks, but today, he was warmly welcomed. Huh? At this moment, Jason and Renault couldn't help but frown. They looked around the mansion. With their perception, they naturally felt that there were several eyes hidden around the mansion, looking at the location of the family mansion from time to time. What's going on? Jason and Renault both had doubts in their hearts. At this moment, the door of the mansion suddenly opened, and Leo and others rushed out of the mansion. Jason and Renault had smiles on their faces, but before they could say anything, Leo grabbed their shoulders. Let's go, Leo said in a low voice, pulling both Jason and Renault into the mansion. Reno, Jason, why are you two back? As soon as they entered the mansion, Leo pulled the two of them into the family hall, and then said with annoyance on his face. What? Seeing the expression on Leo's face, Jason and Renault both felt something was wrong. At the same time, they both thought of the hidden figures at the door of the mansion. An angry light flashed from Renault's eyes, and he said in a low voice, What? Brother, has something happened to our family? At this point, Renault clasped his hands tightly and looked cold. The family is the root of Renault. If there are any scofflaws who dare to harm the family, Renault would not mind erasing them from the world. Something happened? No, nothing. Leo was stunned. Hearing Leo say this, Renault breathed a sigh of relief. Reno, Jason, are you back? At this moment, there was a sudden noise outside the hall, and then Rost led Claude, Callan, Eastman and others out of the door. Come in. They all had smiles on their faces and excited expressions. When Claude, Karen and others returned to the family, Claude and the other elders still stopped them at every turn. However, in the incident in Augustus, everyone was a member of the Todd family. They are all on the same front. Third uncle, everyone, Renault said with a smile. Reno, your arm is really cured? Rost said in surprise as soon as he came to Reno. After everyone around them heard what Rost said, they all looked at Renault with surprise. Renault's broken right hand was now intact, giving everyone an unspeakable shock. To be reborn after a broken arm, for a small family like them in a place like the Northwest countries, it was a fantasy, but at this moment, it appeared in front of them alive. Rost's reminder also attracted the attention of Leo on the side. When Jason told him that he would take Renault to the territory of chaos to find some cloud spirit fruit and treat Renault's broken arm, Leo had no sympathy for Jason. There was no hope, but now, he was extremely excited, with a heartfelt smile on his face. By the way, Uncle, where is Claire? Jason looked around the hall and found that Claire was not among the crowd, so he couldn't help but said. Claire? Leo was stunned for a moment, and then suddenly said, You are talking about that maid of yours. She may be practicing in your courtyard. But no one has informed you of your return. So I guess she doesn't know yet. Practice? Claire is practicing. Jason couldn't help but be stunned. Before he could speak again, Master Jason, a weak voice suddenly sounded outside the hall door. Jason looked around and saw a blonde woman wearing a red robe was standing at the door of the hall, looking at herself excitedly. Claire. Jason spoke calmly with a smile on his lips. His eyes were soft, his voice was gentle, and his expression was gentle. Master Jason. Claire's body swayed suddenly, like a red butterfly. In an instant, she crossed the distance between the two people, came to Jason, and then plunged into Jason's arms. In his arms. The young master is a bad guy. The young master is a bad guy. Leaving Claire alone, woo-woo, Claire misses the young master so much. Claire held Jason tightly, tears fell from the corners of her eyes unbridled, and her eyes turned into tears. Ugh. Jason opened his hands in embarrassment and stood there helplessly. No matter in his previous life or this life, he had never encountered such a situation. The muscles in his body were stiff and he stood there motionless. I don't know why, but when he heard Claire's cry, his usually calm heart suddenly began to beat, like a string being touched softly, causing ripples. Young master, don't you want Claire? Did Claire do something wrong? You tell Claire that Claire will change, she will change. Claire raised her head and looked at Jay with tears in her eyes. Sen, under the blonde hair, the whole face was flushed, and there was grievance and panic in the eyes. Yes. How could the young master not want you? I still want you to help me wash my clothes. Look at Claire's sad expression. Jason, who didn't know what to say, thought for a while and said. Well, that's good. I will help the young master wash his clothes for the rest of his life. Young master, you can't do without me. After hearing Jason's words, a smile suddenly broke out on Claire's face, and she stood obediently next to Jason. For her, as long as she can be by the young master's side and do the laundry for him, it is the happiest thing in her heart. By the way, young master, I am also a spiritual master now. Claire can protect you in the future. Uncle Leo said that Claire is now a 6th-level spiritual master. In the kingdom, they are all considered top masters. Claire whispered. You a 6th-level spiritual master? Jason was completely dumbfounded. Whether it was his father becoming an 8th-level imperial spiritual master or his disciples Archimedes and Loken's strength rising, Jason could accept it. Only in these short 3 years, Claire went from being ignorant to a sub-6th-level spiritual master, which surprised Jason. Yes. Claire raised her head proudly, and a powerful fire spiritual power rippled out from her body. The powerful spiritual power showed her strength as a 6th-level spiritual master. Feeling the fire spiritual power emanating from Claire, the fire source power of the immortal fire phoenix deep inside Jason's body involuntarily shrank, which made Jason stunned. Although he is only a 6th-level low-level spiritual master now, the fire spiritual power in the deepest part of his body has not absorbed the remaining fire power from the spiritual heart of the holy beast immortal fire phoenix. Faced with the black color and flow of the god-killing Nadim, they dared to fight. But now, just under Claire's 6th-level spiritual power, they flinched like a mouse after seeing a cat, which made Jason full of curiosity. At the same time, Jason also thought about the terrifying power he exuded when he absorbed the spirit heart of the immortal fire phoenix. Even Wayne's 8th-level ice spiritual power could not stop it, but it was emitted by Claire. The breath was easily suppressed. It's just that Claire was not a spiritual master at that time. Now, as Claire's strength has increased, the fire spiritual power and aura exuding from her body has become more and more terrifying. By the way, Renaud, have you been there all these years? Why did you come back suddenly? Just as Jason was thinking about Claire's fire spiritual power, Rost asked in the hall. When Jason took Renaud to the territory of chaos, only Rost and Leo knew about it in the entire kingdom of Orlando, so they asked this question. Third uncle, eldest brother, what is the problem in the family? Why do you feel like you don't welcome us back? Hearing Rost's question, Renaud frowned and spoke. From the words of everyone, he was sensitive. It sounds like Rost, Leo, and others don't want him to come back. What's going on? There is no problem in the family, but you don't know that since you left, many people have come to the royal city, and they all seem to be looking for you. However, these people did not do anything in the royal city, they just stayed for a while and then left, but some of them keep saying they want to see you, and often come to the family mansion to be aggressive. Leo sighed at the side, and immediately told the story about the Decré family. 2 days ago, 2 members of the Decré family suddenly broke into the main hall while His Majesty was discussing matters in the main hall and asked His Majesty Licent and me to hand over the whereabouts of you two. Only Leo was waiting. There was a look of distress on people's faces. Forget it, now that you are back, that's it. The news that you two are back must have reached their ears now. Is it a blessing or a curse? There is no way to avoid disaster. If they really come to your door when the time comes, the two of you should lower your stance and just make up any excuse to stop them. It's easy to just give up a reason, but I'm afraid people won't let it go. Besides, Rost also sighed. He gritted his teeth, slapped the table next to him fiercely, and said angrily, if Roosevelt hadn't been a 7th-level senior Imperial spiritual master and was very powerful, I would have killed him a long time ago. We want to deal with them, but they are outmatched, so we have to swallow our anger. Listening to what Rost said, all the family members in the hall were silent. Over the past year, Roosevelt and Hoover often came to the family mansion to make noises. However, because of the other party's strong strength, the Todd family could only to be able to hold back one's anger, speak in a low voice, and talk nicely is a shame for the Todd family, which is now the most powerful in the Kingdom of Orlando. The Decray family? Is it the family whose patriarch was killed by Wayne? Humph, if they dare to come, they will never come back. In the hall, Renaud, who clenched his fists angrily, snorted coldly. No, Renaud, listen to your brother and don't conflict with them. After hearing what Renaud said, the faces of Leo, Rost and others turned pale with fright. They all know Renaud's temper. When the Daos family came, Renaud was a 6th-order spiritual master. He dared to confront the Daos family without giving in. Now he has become a 7th-order spiritual master. As a low-level Imperial spiritual master, he was not afraid of anything. At this moment, Renaud has restrained his spiritual power and looks ordinary. How could Rost and Leo see Renaud's true strength? 3 years is not too long. They only regard Renaud as having cured his arm. He is still the same as 3 years ago, a 7th-level low-level Imperial spiritual master. Third uncle, brother, you too, don't worry, I have my own sense of discretion. Renaud said in a low voice, without any further explanation. Jason, when the time comes, you have to persuade your father not to let him act recklessly. Leo said to Jason worriedly again. Ahem, uncle, I know. Jason wiped his nose and couldn't help but say, don't worry, my father, before Jason could say anything, haha. At this moment, a loud sound of laughter suddenly came from the door of the Todd family's mansion. At the same time, a rumbling voice sounded throughout the royal city. Roosevelt and Hoover of the Decray family, I heard that Reynolds of the Todd family Jason and I came back and came here to visit. We also asked everyone from the Todd family to come out and meet us. The rumbling sound was like thunder, which made people's ears hurt. When they heard this sound, the faces of Rost, Leo and others in the hall changed instantly. What are you afraid of? What's coming? However, none of them saw it. On the side, a terrifying light suddenly burst out in the eyes of Renaud and Jason. When people visit, they usually ask for permission outside in a low voice, and are then taken to the owner's home. But the 2 members of the Decray family not only asked Renaud and others to go out directly, but their voices spread throughout the entire royal city of Colton, alarming the entire royal city. Such arrogance made people feel uncomfortable. Renaud couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Exactly after hearing the other party's powerful and arrogant words, Leo, Rost and others in the hall looked around, sighed helplessly and said, let's get out. Under such circumstances, there is no other way for them to hide in the hall all the time. They can only go out obediently. Let's go. Reynolds' face was cold and he sneered, I want to see what kind of characters Roosevelt and Hoover of the Decray family are, who dare to be so arrogant in my Todd family. While speaking, Renaud waved his sleeves and walked out of the hall with Jason first. Leo, Rost and others immediately chased after him with worried expressions on their faces. Reynolds and Master Jason are back? And in Renaud, when he was preparing to meet with Roosevelt and Hoover, in the palace of the Kingdom of Orlando, Nexent was sitting in the study, watching the news of the return of Reynolds and Jason from his subordinates. However, before he could finish reading everything, he heard Hoover's arrogant roar coming from the Todd family mansion, and he suddenly froze. Oops, sent that something was wrong. Leeson suddenly showed a worried look on his face, and hurriedly ordered to the side, Shadow, you and Lin go to the Todd family quickly, I will be there soon, we must not let Master Jason get hurt at the hands of the two men from the Nadker family. Yes, Your Majesty. In the shadow appeared directly, then swayed slightly and disappeared into the room. Last time when Augustus and others from the Daos family came, Master Jason was protected by Wayne, but this time Leeson couldn't help but feel a headache. The other party had a 7th level, a high-level Imperial Spiritual Master. Even if all the masters from the Kingdom of Orlando gather together, they may not be the opponents of each other. So what should we do? In another mansion in the royal city, Parsons of the Dawes family also heard Hoover's shouting, and a sneer suddenly appeared on his face. The Decray family here is a bit arrogant, right? But it's okay, just test Jason and Reno for me. After the words fell, Parsons suddenly disappeared into the mansion in a flash. For a time all the forces that were paying attention to the Todd family in the entire city of Orlando learned about the return of Jason and Reno, and immediately rushed towards the Todd family's mansion. However, these people just hid in the dark, blended in with the crowd, and did not appear. Most of these forces heard that Wayne, the Ice Emperor of the Cairo Empire, appeared in a small kingdom in the northwest countries and became an attendant of a young master of a small family, helping the small family repel the Daos family. Augustus and others were shocked and came to inquire about the news. However, after coming to the Kingdom of Orlando, they all learned about Jason's performance at the Elixir Master Conference of the Northwest countries and learned about Jason's powerful attainments in elixir science. The forces who originally just wanted to inquire about the news suddenly changed their minds. Back then, a Master Airily came out of the Northwest countries, and countless families on the mainland rushed to invite him. The competition was fierce. If Jason really had the talent of Master Airily, these families who had no grudge against Jason would be very popular. Interested in building a good relationship with Jason while he's still growing up. Therefore, the spies of these forces have been waiting in the royal city of the Kingdom of Orlando, waiting for Jason to appear. However, what they did not expect was that they would have to wait for nearly 3 years. Many forces left during the process, but some others persisted. Now that Jason has finally appeared, these forces also want to find out whether Jason really has genius-like attainments in elixirs as was rumored 3 years ago. Outside the Todd family mansion, the crowd gathered more and more. 2 Todd family guards stood aside with embarrassed looks on their faces. They didn't know what they should do at this moment. Roosevelt and Hoover stood quietly in front of the mansion gate, looking at the Todd family mansion with sneers on their faces. The Decray family, who was far away in the Kamikaze Empire, accidentally learned that Ice Emperor Wayne, who had killed the leader of his family's Hague clan, had appeared in the Kingdom of Orlando, became the guard of a small family, and also helped that family. Augustus and others defeated the Dawes family. After receiving the news, the Decray family immediately sent Roosevelt and Hoover to the Kingdom of Orlando to investigate. However, it was not until they arrived that they learned that Wayne had already fought off Augustus and others, that is, he escaped from the Kingdom of Orlando, and Jason, who was extremely close to him, also disappeared later. Unwilling to give up, Roosevelt and others decided to wait for Jason to show up. Unexpectedly, they had to wait for more than a year. Over the past year, Roosevelt and the others had searched for the Todd family and Layman countless times. Your Majesty sent, but Leo and others never told them the news about Jason. This made both Roosevelt and Hoover feel angry. After learning the news of Jason and Reno's return from their subordinates today, the two of them immediately came to the door. This time, their first task was to get the news about Wayne from Jason's mouth. Secondly, after getting the news, they also had to teach the Todd family a lesson to vent their depression after waiting here for more than a year. Of anger. Squeak. In the eyes of everyone, the door of the Todd family's mansion finally opened, and a group of people came out in a mighty manner. The leader was Rost, the senior member of the family, and Leo was close to him. Following behind, as for Renaud and Jason, they stood next to Leo. Look, the boy next to Patriarch Leo is Master Jason. He is the #1 genius elixir in our Kingdom of Orlando, Master Jason, the winner of the last Spiritual Apothecary Conference of the Northwest countries? Of course he is. Well, Master Jason's attainments in elixirs are even praised by Master Rudolph, the #1 elixir master in the kingdom. By the way, who is the middle-aged man wearing a golden robe next to him? That 1 inch that is Master Jason's father, Lord Renaud. Hey, that's not right. Master Renaud broke his arm in the battle with the Daos family 3 years ago. Why, how is it intact now? In the crowd, someone immediately noticed something strange about Renaud. They suddenly exclaimed. Oh my God, Master Renaud actually cured the broken arm. How is this possible? It's incredible. Can a broken arm be reborn? What happened to Master Renaud and Master Jason in the past 3 years, where? There were buzzing sounds from the crowd. The storm caused by the Daos family in the royal city was still fresh in the memory of almost everyone in the Colton royal city, and the fact that Renaud lost his arm in the battle was also well known, but now, Renaud's intact arm suddenly shocked these people. Lord Patriarch, these 2 guys yelled as soon as they came to the door of our mansion. I wanted to stop them, but seeing Leo and others appearing, the 2 guards suddenly seemed to have found a backbone and stepped forward to report. Okay, I get it, please step back first. Leo waved his hand, and then he and Rost set their sights on Roosevelt and Hoover. You two, I wonder what's going on with the Todd family? Leo said calmly. What's the matter? Haha, Chief Leo, you are really good at pretending to be stupid. Hoover had a sneer on his face. Enough nonsense, the boy next to you should be that Jason. Hoover cast his cold gaze on Jason and said coldly, Boy, let me ask you, where is your bodyguard, Wayne, who helped you repel the Daos family of the Cairo Empire, now? Hoover's voice was cold, like an order. It gave people a feeling that they could not be disobeyed. Wayne? Jason smiled and walked forward 2 steps. I don't know what you are talking about. Don't act stupid for me, kid. There was a sneer on Hoover's face. It's okay if you say it obediently today, but if you don't, then don't call us rude. Now that Jason has appeared, Hoover completely gave up his face. In the face of his own absolute strength, he was too lazy to make any detours with Jason and the others, and directly asked Jason for the information about Wayne. If Jason refused, he would use his strength to force the other party to tell him. Hoover, what do you mean? Rost said with anger on his face. What do you mean? A strong fighting spirit suddenly rose up in Hoover's body, and he said coldly, that's what it means. At this moment, whoosh. Whoosh. 2 streams of light suddenly appeared. Above the crowd were D-Lin and Shadow. 2 of the Drake family, don't be too presumptuous. This is the land of the Kingdom of Orlando, and you will not be allowed to be arrogant. D-Lin said coldly, and a raging flame rose from his body, and Hoover at the same time, he, who was an intermediate imperial spiritual master, had their auras in the air between them, and they were locked in a deadly confrontation. You're right, this is the Kingdom of Orlando. Since Jason has already said that he doesn't know, if nothing happens to you two, please retreat quickly. Rost also took a step forward and said coldly, at the same time the power of the 7th level intermediate imperial spiritual master in his body also burst out, combined with D-Lin, and suppressed Hoover. It seems that some people skip the toast and take the fine drink. In that case, behind Hoover, Roosevelt, the 7th level senior imperial spiritual master who had been silent for a long time, raised his head, as if in judgment, and spoke calmly, then. Whoa! As his words fell, a fiery red light instantly appeared in the air, aiming at D-Lin and Rost and swiping away fiercely. Boom! The powerful 7th level high-level spiritual power suddenly erupted like a volcanic eruption, and the terrifying pressure shrouded down, instantly wrapping everyone at the door of the Todd family mansion, and the Emperor Lin and Rost were the first to bear the brunt. For a moment, Lin and Rost seemed to be stuck in a quagmire. They couldn't exert any strength and had to defend themselves with difficulty. Boom, boom, two dull sounds sounded, and a spiritual storm seemed to blow up in front of the entire mansion. The terrifying aura spread out. Lin and Rost stomped back. They took 2 steps back quickly, their faces turned pale. A terrifying aura of spiritual power entered their bodies in an instant, rushing through their bodies and being difficult to eliminate for a while. There was fear on both of their faces. As a 7th-level senior Imperial spiritual master, Rost was much stronger than the two of them. Under the current situation on the field, even if no one could be a match for Roosevelt if they joined forces, let alone the Decker family and Hoover, a mid-level Imperial spiritual master. What should I do? Rost and Dylan were both filled with worries. When the people on the side saw this situation, they also sighed secretly. It seems that Roosevelt and Hoover are very angry. This time, I'm afraid the Todd family and the Kingdom of Orlando will be in trouble. Parsons smiled in the crowd. Boy, do you know why I'm waiting for you? The two of us have wasted more than a year here, but don't worry, I am a very reasonable person. If I tell Wayne's whereabouts obediently, maybe I will spare you the extra mercy of the law, but if you don't say it now, I believe you will still say it later, but by then, things will not be so simple. Roosevelt looked down at Jason and the others with an extremely arrogant expression. Are you a very reasonable person? Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Jason suddenly laughed, with a sarcastic smile on his face. As if he had seen something extremely funny, he sneered and said, Roosevelt, right? To tell you the truth, don't say I don't know where Wayne is now. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. Also, I would like to advise you, Jason said indifferently with contempt and disdain on his face, go back to where you came from. Otherwise, don't go back. Jason's words were like dropping a bomb in everyone's heart. Everyone was shocked, looking at him blankly. Even Rost and Dylan had puzzled and shocked expressions on their faces. Isn't this Jason too awesome? Do you dare to say this under such circumstances? Isn't this looking for death? Okay. Roosevelt squeezed out 2 words from the corner of his mouth, and a cold light suddenly flashed in his eyes. An indescribable aura of terror rose from his body. Is that your father next to you? I heard that you and your father have a very good relationship. Then I will kill your father first and let you know the consequences of disobeying my orders. Roosevelt said coldly and then aimed at Renault's location and shot suddenly. Infinite fire spiritual power instantly condensed into a roaring fire dragon, lifelike, roaring, rolling, aiming at Renault's location, surging forward, and wherever it went, the air exploded and burned. Oh my God, this is an elemental simulacrum. This Roosevelt is indeed worthy of being a senior Imperial spiritual master. His control over the elements has actually reached such a terrifying level. This is the Kingdom of Orlando. This Roosevelt actually laid such a heavy hand. I remember Master Renault is a 7th-level low-level banquet spiritual master, and he is also a gold spiritual master. Fire defeats gold. Master Renault is in danger. Seeing the roaring flame dragon as if it were a real thing, all the people around the Todd family mansion suddenly widened their eyes, and their faces were full of worry. Although Renault and Roosevelt are both 7th-level Imperial spiritual masters, different levels of Imperial spiritual masters have very different control over the power of spiritual elements in the air. A low-level Imperial spiritual master who has just been promoted to the 7th-level Imperial spiritual master, it can only simply continuously absorb the power of elements in the air. And like the flame dragon that Roosevelt is currently displaying, it has reached the state of directly substantiating the power of the fire element in the air. This kind of ability to control the spiritual element can only be displayed by some powerful high-level Imperial spiritual masters. If you go one step further and can construct a special space with all the surrounding fire elements, then you can step into the realm of an 8th-level Emperor spiritual master. Be careful. When they saw this situation, Rost and Dylan were shocked. They roared at the same time and their bodies swayed, trying to block Renault's face. "You two get out of the way, I want to see how this guy crippled me." Beside Jason, there was no word. Renault, who was watching all this coldly, suddenly spoke up and moved his hands towards one point on each side. A powerful force that Lin and Rost couldn't resist instantly appeared on both of them. Their rapidly moving figures seemed to be grasped by a pair of invisible big hands. Suddenly stopped in midair. Then, Renault stepped forward, and golden light burst out from his eyes, piercing the sky. His right palm was raised high, and under the sunlight, it instantly turned golden. It violently bombarded the flame dragon that was roaring in front of Roosevelt. The golden fist collided with the huge flame dragon. This strong contrast made time seem to stop in an instant. Boom! A terrifying pressure that was indescribable in words instantly appeared in the sky over this area. Immediately, a huge roar sounded. In an instant, the void seemed to shatter. In the astonished eyes of everyone, the 7-year-old Neu Roosevelt, the giant flaming dragon formed by condensing the spiritual power of a high-ranking imperial spiritual master, suddenly let out a mournful roar. Like tofu hit by a stone, it shattered and disintegrated in the air inch by inch, turning into a cloud of water all over the sky. Fire element dissipated into the air. But Renault was still standing there proudly, with a cold look on his face, and no scars on his body, as if what he had dispersed earlier was not the vigorous blow of a senior imperial spiritual master, but the attack of a child. This is impossible. Roosevelt's face showed a hint of astonishment. Oh, there was a hint of ferocity in his eyes, and then he raised his right fist, wanting to attack again. But how could Renault give him this opportunity? His eyes were sharp, and he took a step forward without waiting for the opponent to react. He was far away, then he turned his palm and fell. In the void, a pale golden handprint condensed out of thin air, and then fell from the sky, slamming down from Roosevelt's head. Boom! The air shattered inch by inch like glass, flames rose from Roosevelt's body, and he roared. He raised his hands to the sky, and the fire spiritual power in his body burst out like a flood that burst a dam. He wanted to the golden palm that was used by Renault was spread open, but it was like an insect shaking a tree, unable to shake it at all. No matter how powerful he burst out, the golden palm never wavered, crushing inch by inch. Coming down, what frightened Roosevelt even more was that the space around him seemed to be frozen, and he couldn't even move, let alone dodge. Boom! Amidst the huge roar, Roosevelt, who had previously stood proudly at the door of the mansion, knocked back Rossiter and Dillon with one blow. The arrogant and domineering Roosevelt was, at this moment, Renault. The giant golden palm crushed into the ground. "With this little strength, you want to destroy me?" Renault stepped forward and said, his face expressionless, looking coldly at Roosevelt, who was pressed into the ground by himself. He said indifferently, "Silence, deathly silence." Then In an instant, the whole audience suddenly heard gasps of air, and everyone looked at Renault, who was standing there quietly with dull eyes. There was a look of incomparable horror in his eyes. Rost and Dillon, who had regained their freedom, also looked at Renault not far away in amazement. Their minds were confused. As for the one who was blocking the Buddha, they were completely dumbfounded. What exactly happened? Everyone looked around in shock, not knowing what exactly happened. You know, Roosevelt is a 7th-level high-level fire spiritual master, and Lord Renault was only a 7th-level low-level imperial spiritual master 3 years ago, and he still had gold spiritual power that was restrained by the fire system. But in the previous battle, Renault actually smashed Roosevelt's fire dragon attack with one punch, and even crushed Roosevelt into the ground with one palm. This naked visual impact shocked them, and at the same time, it's incomprehensible. No, it's impossible. As a 7th-level fire-type high-level imperial spiritual master, how could I, Roosevelt, be defeated by a little gold-type imperial spiritual master like you? You guy. At this moment, Roosevelt was standing there. In the deep pit, an extremely unwilling roar suddenly came out. Amidst the roar, a figure quickly sprang up. It was Roosevelt, who was instantly blasted into the ground by Renault. At this moment, Roosevelt's face no longer had any trace of emotion. He lost his previous overwhelming momentum. The robe on his body had already become extremely tattered in the previous bombardment, and his whole face was distorted and extremely embarrassed. But in his eyes, there was an incomparable unwillingness and anger. The crimson flames burned crazily on his body, and the terrifying pressure continued to spread out. At this moment, he looked like an evil ghost from hell, showing a look of extreme hatred. He roared angrily, and immediately his whole body turned into a ball of flame, aiming at Renault and flying away at high speed. Just when everyone thought he was going to take action against Renault, Roosevelt suddenly said, "Die," while flying by at high speed. He actually changed direction midway, and with his right hand flexing his fingers and claws, he aimed at Jason not far away. "Grab it hard." "No." In an instant, the hearts of Rost and others suddenly rose to their throats. The target of Roosevelt's attack changed so suddenly that it was impossible to guard against it. Everyone stared blankly at Roosevelt, whose whole body turned into a stream of flames, and the electricity shot towards Jason not far away. In the distance, dispatched His Majesty Leasant of the Kingdom of Orlando, who D. Lin and Shadow came to assist, was leading a large number of palace guards to come over. Seeing Roosevelt's lightning strike, Leasant's eyes almost popped out of his head. His face with an extremely frightened expression, he roared angrily, "Stop." Besides, Leo and Shadow also looked horrified and wanted to catch up, but Roosevelt's speed was too fast. It was not like them, a 6th-level senior spiritual master and a 7th-level low-level emperor. The spiritual master had no time to resist. "Young master, be careful." Beside Jason, Claire shouted in her mouth, without any hesitation in her mind, she stood in front of Jason as quickly as possible. She held the giant sword she used for training in her hand, with a determined look in her eyes. Facing Roosevelt's menacing attack, there was no trace of timidity in her eyes. In her heart, for the sake of the young master, she could give up everything, even her life. The fighting power unleashed by Roosevelt, who had used all his strength, was simply too much. He became stronger, and in an instant, he was in front of Claire, with blazing flames burning in his palms. A vicious smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he grabbed it hard. Master Jason, the people around them couldn't bear to watch the scene that was about to happen next and buried their heads. They could already imagine what would happen next. In Roosevelt's transformation, under the attack of the senior imperial spiritual master, Master Jason and his maid would definitely be turned to ashes in an instant, with no bones left. However, no one present noticed that in the face of Roosevelt's attack, Jason, the person involved, did not have the slightest worry on his face. There was even a faint sneer on the corner of his mouth. He raised his head and looked at Roosevelt with disdain, and the look in his eyes was deep ridicule. "This kid dares to do this when he is about to die." Roosevelt was furious, and slapped his palms hard at this moment. "Roosevelt, you are looking for death." A shocking roar suddenly sounded in everyone's ears, just like a thunderbolt sounded out of thin air on a sunny day. It shocked everyone's blood, their legs were weak, and their eardrums ached. With this sound the roar fell, and the sky and the earth turned golden in an instant. Then a golden palm suddenly appeared in the void, and struck Roosevelt like lightning. Boom! Boom, boom! Suddenly there were bursts of explosions in the air. In everyone's horrified eyes, Roosevelt, who was like a demon and arrogant before, seemed to have been hit hard by a heavy-duty truck speeding at extremely high speeds. "It's as if it's dead." The whole person was thrown away in an instant. Roosevelt spurted blood from his mouth in midair, penetrated several stone buildings in succession, made several large holes in them, and finally hit the rocky street heavily. Boom! The thunder rumbled, and a smoke and dust mixed with the smell of blood suddenly filled the air. Silence, deathly silence, so quiet on the empty streets that you could clearly hear the sound of a pin dropping. Everyone looked in astonishment at the place where the previous roar sounded. There, Renault was covered in golden light, like a golden-armored god of war. His eyes were wide and angry, and he looked angrily at Roosevelt's impact. The deep pit is located. Your Excellency, Hoover looked horrified on the side. He looked at Renault in disbelief, and slapped Brother Roosevelt away with his palm. Such strength, whoosh! He quickly rushed into the smoke and dust. In the pit, his eldest brother Roosevelt's robe was torn and dripping with blood, and he looked extremely miserable. Brother! Hoover helped Roosevelt out of the pit with grief and anger. Ahem! Roosevelt coughed painfully twice and looked at Renault's location in fear. Dare to kill my son Jason, Roosevelt, today next year will be your Memorial Day. Renault said coldly, his eyes were as sharp as knives, and an invisible ripple emanated from his body followed by countless golden, the glow filled the surroundings, and in everyone's astonished eyes, there was only a piece of golden left between heaven and earth. Countless golden glows formed a huge golden hand in front of Renault, and then aimed at the castle not far away. Phoo, slap it away hard. With this blow from Renault, all the other spiritual elements in the air dissipated instantly, leaving only the metal elements. Is this an elemental barrier? Are you an 8th level Imperial spiritual master? This is impossible. Feeling the changes in the surrounding environment, Roosevelt's eyes showed a trace of unconcealable fear, and he trembled. The reason why he dared to be so arrogant before was because according to the intelligence he collected, the strongest people in the entire Orlando Kingdom are now only 2 7th-level intermediate Imperial spiritual masters headed by D. Lin and Rost. And the way they were looking for, well, he has long since escaped from the Kingdom of Orlando. As for Renault, 3 years ago, he was only a 7th-level low-level Imperial spiritual master. He even lost his right hand in the battle with the Daos family. Now, even if he walks over, how much progress can he make? However, the strength shown by Renault at this moment completely shocked him. 3 years ago, Renault was a 7th-level low-level Imperial spiritual master and lost his arm. 3 years later, he was actually becoming an 8th-level Emperor spiritual master. Is too incredible, right? Without the support of the fire element in the air, Roosevelt, who was seriously injured, felt extremely uncomfortable. However, he was unaware of it and just looked blankly in the direction of Renault. Compared with the shock to his soul, this a slight injury was nothing. Faced with Reynolds' attack, Roosevelt pushed Hoover away, who was supporting him. His eyes were full of regret and despair, and he roared, "Hoover, run away." At the same time, an indescribable force burst out from his body, and blazing flames rose from his body, trying to make a last-ditch effort. Roosevelt knew that although he is a 7th-level senior, he is an Imperial spiritual master, but in front of a real Imperial spiritual master, his 7th-level advanced strength is simply not enough. Not in Roosevelt. In Gon's eyes, Renault's giant golden palm hit him hard again. Boom! In the explosion, the flames on Roosevelt's body were instantly blown away, and his whole body, in front of everyone, was crushed inch by inch into a mist of blood. Boom! The giant golden palm dissipated into the air, and the huge impact caused the entire streets of the royal city to shake. Huge rocks and soil flew in all directions, leaving a huge deep hole on the ground. Pit. But in the deepest part of the pit, there was a pool of bloody flesh. All the onlookers near the street stared blankly at Wayne in the sky, their eyes dull, and in their ears, only the words Roosevelt shouted earlier were left. 8 Lord Renault, an Emperor spiritual master of the 8th level, actually became an Emperor spiritual master of the 8th level. How is this possible? Although the previous Renault showed unparalleled strength and easily defeated Roosevelt, everyone on the field was in their hearts, no one dared to think about the 8th level Imperial spiritual master. For Renault, as a citizen of King Orlando's royal city, they really understood him too well. The battle with the Daos family that year made Jason and Renault's reputation spread throughout the kingdom, and the strength of Renault's 7th-level low-level Imperial spiritual master was also known to everyone, but it was only a short time before that battle. In just the past 3 years, Lord Renault has been promoted from a 7th-level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master to an 8th-level low-level Emperor Spiritual Master. Such shocking news immediately shocked all the people present. What is the concept of an 8th-level Emperor Spiritual Master? That is a figure who can sweep all the masters of the Northwest countries with one person. In the thousands of years of history of the Northwest countries, there has never been a strong person of the 8th Order Emperor Spiritual Master level. For the people of these Northwest countries, it is said that the 7th-level Imperial Spiritual Master already belongs to the myth of a country, the Master among Masters, and the 8th-level Imperial Spiritual Master, in their hearts, cannot appear beside them at all, but should only exist in legends. So after learning from Roosevelt that Renault had become an 8th-level Imperial Spiritual Master, everyone present was deeply shaken. While everyone present was in shock, Hoover suddenly rose into the sky and fled quickly into the distance. Even a master like Brother Roosevelt died in the hands of Renault. With his strength, if he stayed, he could only wait for death. Want to escape? Now that you're here, just stay here. Looking at Hoover, who was trying to escape from here quickly in the sky, a sneer suddenly burst out from the corner of Renault's mouth. Countless golden streams of light quickly condensed in front of him. 3 red gold sword rainbows formed, glowing with cold murderous intent. Go! Renault shouted in his mouth and stretched out his fingers. Phew, call out, call out. 3 sword rainbows were like shooting stars, and they quickly chased after him. No, in the distance, Hoover let out a desperate roar. In everyone's surprised eyes, as a 7th-level Intermediate Emperor Spiritual Master, Hoover, who had no resistance at all, was instantly penetrated by the 3 sword rainbows. In the sky, Hoover's body fell heavily from the sky like a rag bag, with blood flying all the way, and there was no movement at all. Dead silence. At this moment, the entire royal city was like hell, filled with death silence. All the people around had their eyes widened with horror on their faces, and they didn't even dare to take a breath.